Hey everybody, it's Carter, and I wanted to come on here and make a video because the NBA draft lottery just ended and we got some very big surprises, so let's get into it. The most notable thing that happened was the Dallas Mavericks hopped all the way up to the first pick from outside the top 10, and Cooper Flagg will likely be a Dallas Maverick. Now, this is obviously big news because with Dallas, they look to be in some real trouble going forward. The trade moving Luka Doncic away from Dallas obviously hadn't gone to plan. Kyrie Irving got hurt towards the end of the year, and they lost in the play-in. And it looked really bleak in Dallas, even having Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving on the team. It looked as if they were in real trouble of being stuck in kind of jail for a few years. But now they've gotten a top pick and they can start to steer the ship in the right direction, which is very exciting for them after it really looked like they were in big trouble. Obviously, Kyrie Irving likely won't play in this upcoming season regardless. If he will, it'll be towards the end of the year. But for now, they'll be plugging in Cooper Flagg. And they were one of the teams to jump into the top four. The other two teams to jump into the top four were the San Antonio Spurs getting the second pick and the Philadelphia 76ers at 3. Now, I'd like to talk about both of those really quickly. To start out, let's talk about that San Antonio Spurs pick. I think that one's interesting for a lot of reasons. Now, for San Antonio, if they make that selection, the obvious selection there is you take Dylan Harper. You take Dylan Harper, and he plays alongside Stephon Castle and De'Aaron Fox. You plug those three guards in, in whichever way you need to, but they would all be together, and you wouldn't have to move somebody you wouldn't have to move somebody away from the team. They could all play together. So that is the obvious choice if they decide to make that selection. You go with Dylan Harper. But on the other side of that, what you have to consider is it was reported earlier today that Giannis Antetokounmpo will be available for trade. And it seems like the Spurs are a very logical destination. And it seems like that could be trade ammo. If they were that interested, they could package that pick and Stephon Castle, and they can have a core of Giannis, Wembanyama as their bigs, and they've got obviously De'Aaron Fox running the point. That could be a very interesting way to build that team. And now with the Houston Rockets sliding back in the draft and them moving up, Oklahoma City doesn't get the Sixers pick, which is what they would have likely needed to have the ammunition for that type of trade. It now feels as if San Antonio is suddenly the front runner for a Giannis trade should they wish to explore it. So very exciting times for two teams in Texas, both the Mavericks and the San Antonio Spurs. But now the third pick. This one I think is very interesting. The Philadelphia 76ers have the third pick, and they will have their selection of everybody in this draft that is not Cooper Flagg or Dylan Harper, most likely. So they'll get a look at... Everyone else will likely be on the board. I can't see Bailey going second. I can't see VJ Edgecombe going second. So for them, it'll be time to explore. They can explore now how they want to build this team going forward. If they want to stick with the core built around Joel Embiid, which is what I believe they should do, then in that case, Ace Bailey seems almost as if he's not the pick because he's a more ball-dominant player, and when you can get a guy like BJ Edgecombe or Akon Kneppel, somebody who can play off the ball more and doesn't need the ball as much and can plug in easily with Embiid and with Tyrese Maxey as well, because that's a part of this whole equation I think people may sleep on, where Tyrese Maxey fits into all this, because he demands the ball quite a bit himself. So if you're gonna keep Embiid around, you've got to really look at. I think you've got to kind of take your eye off Bailey and look at Edgecombe or Kneppel. And in my eyes, I would lean towards Kneppel. I think that what Kneppel can do as a ball handler, as a secondary ball handler, not necessarily as a point guard, but as a secondary ball handler, playing off the catch, creating for himself when needed, and also being a very capable defender. I think that's the type of player that you can plug in for the Sixers, and they can be contenders again, like they intended to this year before having all the poor luck with the injuries and all of that. But if they decide that they want to move on from Joel Embiid, which again, I don't think that's the right decision. If I'm in Daryl Morey's shoes, I'm not even thinking about this. I think Joel Embiid is your guy regardless of what injury problems you have. You bank with your guy and you stick with your guy. I think Joel Embiid is the type of player the caliber of player that you need to win championships. And so I believe that if they decide to move on from Embiid, then Ace Bailey becomes a more interesting prospect. But however, I will say I would have to even consider, if you're just trying to build a team from scratch, I think that it's worth considering what Kneppel can do as potentially even a better player than Ace Bailey. And that's no knock against Ace Bailey. I think Ace Bailey is great, but I think what Kneppel brings to the table has gone underrated by so much of the fans and even the scouts, really. And when I say the scouts, I just mean the scouts that you hear from publicly, not necessarily team scouts. But for me, I believe that Kneppel is the third best player in this draft. And I'll say that for the Philadelphia 76ers, they should pick Kneppel with that third pick. As for the rest of the draft lottery, you can see it here. Charlotte sticks in the top four. Both Utah and Washington having some pretty bad luck, falling as far as they could. Utah all the way down from 5 with the best odds. Washington all the way down to 6 with the second best odds. And New Orleans also taking a bit of a fall, all the way down to 7. As you can see, the Sacramento Kings did not get to keep their pick. They did not jump into the top 4 like they needed to. So their pick will belong to Atlanta. And Houston, again, also didn't make a big jump. That kind of puts them behind San Antonio in the Giannis sweepstakes, who did get a big jump. But that's how the 2025 draft order will look, pending any trades. Let me know what you guys think about this draft, about this lottery. Let me know what you guys think, especially about, obviously, all the big jumps we've had at the top of the order. But also let me know who's a player that you guys think is underrated in this draft. For me, I really like Jace Richardson out of Michigan State. I think he's going to be a great scorer for a team like Toronto or Brooklyn, who's had trouble generating perimeter scoring the past few years. But you guys let me know in the comments who you think may be the most underrated player in this draft. I know if I asked who the best was, there'd be a pretty strong consensus that the best player in this draft is Cooper Flagg. So let me know who you guys think is the best player in the draft is, and I'll talk to you all next time.